everyone, this is Talk Time with Cynthia. I'm coming today, I'm reading out of my book today again, and it is called, I always like to show you the book so you can see the title of it, okay, and it's called The Black Tax, The Cost of Being Black in America. And I also like to say to you guys, this is not about creating friction between race. This is to point out the reason why we're where we are, and I feel like knowledge is power. So, and I feel like you know better, you do better, right? You know how you got to where you are, then you know how to get to where you're going. But you can't do it without knowing. You can't get to where you're going without knowing where you've been, where you're at, and that way you'll know how to get to where you're going. So, and I believe this particular book by Shawn D. Rochester has a lot of information that will help us to get there. So without further ado, I'm going to start reading the book. And I'm going to try to keep it short, so because I don't want to bore people or make it seem too long, because I'm a slow reader, so it takes me a while to get through this book. And we've gotten through that much of it already. And if you're interested in the other videos, I do have them in my playlist, so you guys can go start from the beginning, and that way, and then catch up to where I am right now. And I'll continue to put the videos in my playlist. I also like to say, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to my videos. And I do this at the beginning because I do realize a lot of people don't go all the way to the end of my videos. I usually do this at the end, but I do it at the beginning now because I do realize some people just click on and then they kind of click back off, and that's cool. I mean, whatever you want to do. I would like for you to go and all the way to the end, but no pressure. So anyway, what I was saying is, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to my video. Don't forget to tell your families and your friends what your girl Cindy is doing, because you know we try to keep it popping over here on the positive side. Y'all know how we do it. Love, peace, understanding, compassion, unity between the races. We want to even make those lines disappear if we can. You know, just look at each other as human beings, which we are, right? Don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you will be notified whenever I upload videos, so you don't miss out on all the goodies that all the good content. Okay, so anyway, let's get started. And we're on part 3, and they have different little titles in the different parts. So part 3, the title of that is, what can we do about the black tax, right? Okay, it says, where are we now? Okay, so I'm going to get started. For any people to thrive, their society must build on a foundation of 7 pillars. Those pillars are opportunity, trade, industry, and innovation. Capital, skill, and security, which form the acronym OPTICS. Okay, so those are the first letters of those pillars I just mentioned, and it, like I said, it forms the word OPTICS. Trade is the ability to exchange goods and services for economic benefits and industry is the process of producing goods and services for trade. Innovation is the utilization of technology to improve things of value. Capital is the financial means to develop the infrastructure to make goods and trade them. Skill is the ability to do something that other people cannot, or to do it substantially better than others can. Security is the state of being able to retain and maintain your life. Liberty and property, your life, liberty and property. Opportunity is the ability to participate in a valuable endeavor. Trade, industry, and innovation capital, skill, and security all require opportunity. Every great nation, past and present, has been built on the 7 pillars of optics. The black tax has devastated the optics for black people, actually for black Americans, leaving us with just 2% of America's wealth while we struggle within a 2% paradigm or rule that seems to emerge again and again in areas of vital importance to African American economic development. This 2% rule is driven by the massive and continuous level of anti-black discrimination and disenfranchisement that serves as a confiscatory, I guess I'm saying that right, confiscatory tax on black people's ability to accumulate wealth. Chattel slavery in America was a 250-year period of a 100% tax on enslaved people, which meaning that when slaves worked, they didn't get paid for it. And that's why it was 100%. Okay, then it says, which stripped the ancestors of black Americans of 50 trillion and left newly emancipated people owning approximately 0.17% of American wealth after emancipation. This was followed by a 100-year nightmare from emancipation through Jim Crow to the end of the civil rights movement, where black Americans faced another massive confiscatory tax on opportunity, trade, industry, and innovation, capital, skill, and security within each of the pillars. Black Americans received the lowest level of investment and the highest level of restrictions. This created a great appreciation among African Americans for many forms of advancements, accomplishments, or attainment above the absolute minimum allowed by white Americans, and made the 2% phenomena and I outline below. Tolerable for an entire people. The combined 350-year period of slavery and Jim Crow apartheid was then followed by 50 years of extraordinary progress for the top 10% of African American families and a massive amount of economic deprivation. Mass incarceration and intergenerational poverty for millions of others. And then the next title is going to be the 2% rule. Research shows that Black Americans were often restricted to 2% levels or less in many vitally important aspects of the economy, politics, and society at large that facilitated wealth accumulation. Black Americans, okay? Black Americans were emancipated but denied land, capital, credit, fair wages, means of production, skills, development, and free trade, all of which were far below the 2% level. Black Americans held less than 2% of U.S. wealth for 350 years. Black Americans owned less than 2% of all U.S. land for 400 years, currently 1%. Black Americans held less than 2% of almost all high-skilled, high-paying jobs in all industry for 150 years after emancipation. Black Americans received less than 2% of 246 million acres distributed to 1.5 million American families. Actually, less than 0.27%. Black Americans received less than 2% of. Okay, that was the same one. Sorry, guys. Black Americans received less than 2% of the 120 billion distributed to Americans via federal housing subsidies. Black Americans received less than 2% of the 95 billion distributed to Americans via the GI Bill. Black Americans received less than 2% of the 50 billion distributed to Americans via the New Deal. Y'all do your research on the New Deal, that way you'll have a better understanding of what it's talking about. Black Americans received less than 2% of agricultural subsidy payments distributed to American farmers. Black America, less than 2% of the adult Black population was allowed to attain college degrees as of 1950. So that's not too far off. Then it says, another title says, today Black Americans have unknowingly settled into a 2% equilibrium with their most vital financial enterprises. Then it says Black Americans spend less than 2% of their combined 1.2 trillion income on Black enterprises. Okay, Black Americans deposit less than 2% of their combined 130 billion of deposits in Black banks. Black Americans spend less than 2% of their combined 1.2 trillion income on education. This has a massive depressive impact on job creation, business development, and business formation. It seems that what was done to Black Americans by their fellow citizens, Black Americans now do within their own community and to Black enterprises and businesses. This minuscule level of commercial activity with Black enterprises starves Black businesses of capital, dramatically reduces demands for their goods and services, limit the development of an industrial base with economies of scale, and further depresses the demand for additional employment and skill development at all levels within the Black community. All of which helps to, one, prevent the community from being comprised of a healthier mix of producers and consumers, and number two, keeps it comprised almost exclusively of low-income consumers. This low level of investment and economic engagement in Black enterprises by Black Americans serves as an additional tax, which further stifle job creations and wealth accumulation in our communities. Because of this, Black Americans are faced with two Black taxes. One imposed by their fellow citizens and one imposed by themselves, whether driven by conscious or unconscious biases. Black Americans spend an extraordinarily small amount of their income and deposits a similarly small amount of capital in their own banks. The net effect of these actions is highly discriminatory in nature and impact. Gary Becker, in his book, The Economics of Discrimination, 1957, wrote that discrimination lowers the incomes of both the party that discriminates and the party that is discriminated against. Keep that in mind, guys. This second form of the Black tax, driven by Black Americans, discriminating against themselves has the doubly negative effects of lowering the incomes for both black enterprises and the black consumer. It is also important to note that the less capital each party has, the lower the effects discriminations has on lowering each party's income. Since black enterprises and black consumers have very little capital, the discriminatory effects has an even greater impact on reducing income within the community. Unfortunately, many companies and institutions have also settled into a mode of investing 2% or less in black people and black enterprises. Their actions seem to convey an unwillingness to disinterest. Sorry guys. Their actions seem to convey an unwillingness or disinterest in investing more in black employment and black enterprises that black Americans are willing to invest in and demand for themselves. Consider the following list of instances where the 2% rule is still in effect today. Okay, these are the things to consider, and it's a subtitle that says investment in business financing. So we're gonna start with the first bullet point. Black-owned small businesses receive less than 2%, which is in parentheses 1.7% of all loan money distributed through the Small Business Association, according to an analysis by the Wall Street Journal. Then it says less than 2%, in parentheses 1.5% of total corporate procurement dollars are spent with black-owned businesses. 2014 corporate diversity survey. So that was through a survey. Then it says less than 2%, which is one up in parentheses 1% of tech companies with black founders receive venture capital funding. Fast coexist.com. So that was from them. So then it says research conducted by Venrock Vice President Richard Kirby in 2015 found that black investors comprised less than 2%, which is in parentheses 1.7% of the venture capital industry. And if you're going to research how much venture capital is allowed, for all Americans combined, then you'll know how small that percentage is for black Americans. Then it says corporate leadership, less than 2%, and up in parentheses is 1% of Fortune 500 CEOs are black. Source, and the source is AOL.com finance. Less than 2%, in parentheses 1.9% of partners at law firms are African American. Source, and the source is the American Lawyers Diversity Scorecard. And then African Americans only account for 2.7% of senior level staff in the financial industry. Source is motherjones.com. Then we have black employees comprise 2% of investment professionals. Source on venture capital firms. And then blacks only make up about 2% of recent hires at tech firms. Source is the Atlantic magazine. And that was corporate. That was in corporate leadership, guys. And the next one is education. Less than 2% of school teachers and administrators nationwide are black men. Less than 2% of the nation's 3,000 colleges and universities tenured faculty are black. In 2004, blacks earned less than 2% of doctorates in math, physics, and computer science, and all engineering disciplines. And then it says HBCUs receive less than 2% of the more than 140 billion in U.S. grants for science and engineering awarded to the 1990s, awarded in the 1990s. And then we're going to talk on media. Okay, then it says media. Black consumes more media per person than any other group. Less than 2%, up in parentheses, 1% of film executives and directors who are members of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science are black. Less than 2% of advertising expenditures, which is 70 billion expenditure, 70 billion cable TV. This is in parentheses, guys. National Magazine Network TV, spot radio, syndicated TV goes to black media outlets. So less than 2% of those. And medicine and law. Black women make up 2% of all doctors in the United States, yet black women make up less than 2% of all lawyers in the United States. Black men make up 2% of all doctors in the United States. Black men make up less than 2% of all lawyers in the United States. Financial services. Blacks spend 150 billion per year financing cars and homes. Blacks make up 1% to 2% of all financial advisors, according to industry executives interviewed by financialplanning.com. Finance and insurance businesses account for just 2.2% of all African American businesses, according to the most recent statistics from the U.S. Department of Commerce. Agriculture, Black Americans currently on less than 2%, in parentheses 0.9% of U.S. land, which is the same ownership ownership level as in 1874. So that's a long time. Less than 2% of all U.S. farms are Black owned. Residential real estate. So it says since 1970, less than 2% of white homeowners have moved from predominantly white neighborhoods to predominantly Black neighborhoods, which is regentification, guys, or gentrification, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, regentification. And then it says business. Less than 2% of Black businesses have a presence in the following industries. Okay, these industries are information technology, finance and insurance, manufacturing, oil, gas and mining, utilities, and wholesale trade. That's less than 2%. Okay. So, and that's the end of that, guys, because like I said, I don't want to belabor the point, don't want to take it too long. But I want to say thank you so much, and I love you guys, which I should have said that at the beginning, but those of you who stayed to the end, I really, really appreciate you staying to the end and get this information, because I think this information is very, very important for us to have so we can move forward, right? So we can try to at least make the world a better place. And it's obvious with this COVID-19 that we really do need to connect, and we need each other to eradicate this disease out of our communities, because if we try to just focus on our own self, then it makes no sense, because everybody is all over, so it doesn't matter. Eventually you're going to come into a place where we all come into, and you're going to be reinfected, and it's all over again. So we just have to come together as a community, as a race, and just try to just work together and get this disease under control and try to eradicate it from our community, as I said. But anyway, I want to just say thank you guys so much, and I will talk to you later, and hopefully you will enjoy this video. I love you so much. Bye.